I joined a company with zero software developers, and I vibe coded a product in under 2 months to help them be valued at more than $30 million. So it's actually more than this. So I'll give you the exact steps that I follow, and the exact steps that you should follow if you have zero tech skills and you want to build an AI SaaS. So first of all, you need to learn these software development tools. First of all, Cursor, which is the most important. This is basically an IDE, which is an AI program that builds or and writes and edits and removes code based on your prompts, based on your images that you send, whatever. It's very easy to use and it's very powerful. And then you need to use and learn GitHub and version control. This is super, super important, and many people just skip it and they let AI control the versions. But this is basically a way of keeping your code organized and safe. You want to have version control. So basically, it's like, let's say that I'm writing a document and I'm doing it in Google Drive. Once I close my computer and finish it, it's stored in the cloud in Google Drive. So this is the same thing, but for code. But it also stores all the versions that you have been running with. So if you make a big mess, which is likely if you're not technical and you're using AI, you can just go back into the previous version. So if you have good version control abilities, you will be able to do this very, very well. So this is super important. Then you will have to, once you're in Cursor, you have installed it, and you know the basics of version control, you will have to actually write some application, some website. So the technology that I recommend using for this is React, Python, Django, and Stripe. Let me explain what each thing is. So in every website, there's like a front end and a back end, and then there's a database, and then there are, well, yeah, basically that's it. Those three things, right? So on the front end, what we define is what users see on their screen, the buttons and how they interact and so on. So for this, using React, I think is the best option right now. If you're non-technical, well, I mean, React itself, it's not a very simple language to actually learn coding. But if you're using AI, I think that AI is super good with React. It works very, very, very well. Then for the backend, so the backend is like the logic, the backend logic. So like, let's say that we have a functionality that is signing a new user up, right? The front end would define the buttons, the text that we show, and so on, and a little bit of logic. But then the big part of the logic goes in the backend. So like actually creating the account, storing the data in the database, and so on. Those kind of things are done in the backend. So for this, I would use Django with Python. Again, AI is very, very good at Python, and Django is a way of managing authentication and security in a very easy way because it does most of those things automatically. And again, AI is good at using it. Django is like a framework, but you will be coding on Python. And then when you have to deal with payments, I would use Stripe, no doubt. It's like the super standard. Everyone uses Stripe for subscriptions, for one-time payments, and there's a lot of documentation, a lot of examples. So AI will just do it in a minute. It's the best option for this. So once you have chosen the technology to use uh, and actually build an app, then you will have to deploy the app somewhere, right? So for that, first I will learn to use Vercel. It's very easy. If you have good version control, you can connect GitHub to Vercel. So it automatically just deploys the software into the world. And then I would host the backend on Hostinger or some equivalent server, which is like a virtual private server. So basically, you download the code into the server and you run the application on this server, and that's it. And then you make the front end from Vercel call the backend from Hostinger, and that's it. And then maybe you could host the database in Supabase or in Hostinger with custom code. Both are pretty similar. I usually use Hostinger, but maybe if you're not technical, Supabase is a bit easier to set up. Okay, so I just gave you a lot of information, and obviously you will not know how to do this even if you're not technical, right? Like this is still a lot. So now I'm going to give you like the way of problem solving and the way of like making your own way into creating an AI SaaS. So what you need to embrace is vibe coding. I think if you're not non-technical, you really need to learn the basics of vibe coding. And the biggest mentality thing that you need to understand is this AI problem solving mentality, right? So, for example, here I gave you a lot of stuff that you probably don't know how to do, right? You probably don't know how to set a Hostinger server or a Vercel and GitHub connection, right? But AI knows this, and I want you to have this mentality of if I don't know something, I'm going to ask AI, and I'm also going to try to learn. So, like both things, right? I'm going to problem solve all my problems with AI, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to learn the basics and the fundamentals of it with AI as well. It's like both things at the same time. So back to example, right? Let's say that I want to host the backend on Hostinger. I have no idea how to do that. So I will go to ChatGPT right here. Go here, ChatGPT, open Hostinger. I literally type Hostinger and take a screen capture and paste it in ChatGPT and ask it, where do I click next? And then what is this thing? And you go back and forth with AI of like, what should I do next and why? And you start asking what to do and why we should do that. And so you get to solve the problem and actually learn as well. So I think that this mentality is super, super useful and super, super important. Okay, so once we have this AI problem solving and AI learning mentality, we need to actually start vibe coding. And how do we do that correctly in the best possible way, right? So basically, when you're doing vibe coding, you have two jobs. First job is gathering the best possible context, which is sometimes also called context engineering. Basically, you have these super powerful AI tools, but they need to be given very good context to produce very good software, very good websites and applications. To be able to do this well, I recommend first planning what you need to do. So if you're making a big code change, or if you're starting from zero, let's say that we're building a fitness app, I will first have a whole conversation with AI just to create the plan of the fitness app. So like, what screens are we going to show? What kind of users do we have? Do we have like only admins and normal users, or do we have admins, normal users, and coaches? So things like that, you need to plan them out in a conversation with AI, and then output them into a document, like a whole specification document that you will have with everything that the next AI needs to actually go and create the software. So first plan, then execute. So once you have the plan and when you're executing, you still need to give it as much context as you can. So you need to send it in documentation of the things that you're using. So you could send, if you're using React or if you're using Stripe, let's say, you could actually go and send the URL of the Stripe documentation pages, or you can attach the documentation to the cursor memory. I think that, well, I know that cursor has like a setting to add documentation to it. So send documentation, send internet URLs, send Stack Overflow copy pastes, and so on. So that's very important. Then once AI is actually making the changes, you still need to explain things step by step and very clearly, because AI doesn't read your mind. People think that, well, I mean, humans kind of have better mind reading abilities still than AI. So with AI, you still have to be very, very specific with what you want and explain things step by step and be very clear and short. Well, not necessarily too short, but short is always better. And then, you can also use this resource, which is debating with AI, which is actually very helpful. So when you're trying to make a decision or trying to make a change, you can debate with AI and ask it, what do you think is wrong with this? Or do you think you can improve this? And so on. So this kind of resource is a good one. And then there's a small tip that I could give that actually helps a lot, which is voice input. So there are these apps called Whisperflow or Whisper Typing, I think, and things like that, that they allow you to type stuff in the AI prompts, like anywhere, by talking. So you don't have to type everything. And I know that many people type very fast, but still voice input is a lot easier to do, and it's like very seamless. So it seems like a small thing, this voice input thing, but it's actually big because it makes you a lot less lazy, and it makes you explain things a lot better and input context in a lot better way. So I highly recommend doing this voice input thing, and it's very easy, it's free, and you can use it anytime. So yeah, this is the part of context engineering, super, super important. And the next very important thing that you need to do is judging the responses that you get from AI. This is a bit harder to do. It's a skill that you need to master, to be honest. And obviously, the more that you learn about software, about your user, about what you need to do, the better. And over time, you're going to develop an instinct about how to do this, but you're going to start to smell things that have a very bad smell. So like sometimes AI starts doing something that has absolutely no sense, and you need to be able to pick that up, because if you're not able, you're going to waste a lot of time and possibly destroy your whole application. So this is very important, and this is honestly where professionals like me have a very big advantage, because we actually understand what's going on in the code. We have like a notion of what's going on, even if we're vibe coding and we're not touching the code. When an AI makes some change that makes no sense or is very bad, we know what that looks like, and it's where we usually have the biggest advantage when vibe coding. So but with time you'll learn this as well. So yeah. Now what to do if you get stuck, because you will get stuck at some point. Don't worry, I will help you. First of all, the first thing that you can do is ask AI to write logs, execute the program again, and send the logs back to AI. So, let's say that you have some error when clicking a button. So you can ask AI, please write some logs related to this error that I'm getting. The logs things, this log thing, if you are totally unfamiliar with coding, is basically a way of showing what's going on in the code while the code is being executed. So you can, these ways of showing what's going on in the code, you can actually code that as well. So like you can actually ask AI to code that, and then you can copy the response that you get when you execute the program again, and then paste it back to the AI, and now AI will have a lot more context, so it will work a lot better. Also, if you're getting errors, right, in the console or on the page, you can obviously copy that and paste it into AI. That's the most basic version, of course. If you're still stuck after copy pasting the logs back and forth many times, you can always reset the conversation. This helps because when the conversation gets too long, AI kind of gets messed up in its AI brain, and it's like it starts working a lot worse. I think that Cursor and Codex and so on, they are working on this to make it better, but it's still a big limitation of AI. So if you start a new conversation, it will clear the mind of the AI, and maybe it will be able to work on the problem from a different angle or fix it better or whatever. It's always a good option to do this. The bad thing of doing this is obviously that you lose all the information that you have given, all the context that you have gathered before, right? Like you've done this, blah, 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 and then you have to reach the conversation. So you lose this, but what you can do is at the end of the conversation, ask AI to summarize like what problem we're working on, what the thing that we have done is, and so on. So like you get a text summary, and you can reset the conversation and paste that text summary in the next conversation. So that's a thing that you can do. There's a lot of tips like this that I can teach and that I have learned. So if you follow me here on YouTube, you can learn all of these things. So resetting conversation, always a good idea. Changing the model, which is a similar thing, because whenever you change the model, you can also reset them. Well, you don't have to reset if you change the model, but you can reset and change the model, whatever. It helps approach the problem from a different angle, because at the end of the point, it's like talking to a different person when you're talking to a different model. So you get a new perspective that maybe solves your problem. And then you can also try to get more or different context, because sometimes, giving context from your explanations isn't enough. So you need to go search the internet about this possible error, or send AI more docs about this thing, and so on. So this is always a good option as well. And then if none of this works and you're stuck and you're iterating, you're resetting many times, you're pasting logs back and forth, and you still cannot do it, you can always take a rest. Because this is the similar equivalent of resetting conversation with AI, but with like your actual human brain. So it will clear your mind a lot, and once you're back after a few hours, you'll be able to work better, and you'll be less frustrated. So yeah, I recommend doing this as well. So yeah, and finally, I'm going to give you a little tip on what models to pick. Today it's the 11th of November 2025. This changes a lot, so like maybe next week Gemini 3 comes out and we have to change the models that we use for coding. But for now, I recommend using Claude 4.5 Sonnet, which is available in Cursor. It's available in Claude Code everywhere. And it works for 90% of the cases. You can use this. It's a lot quicker than the rest of the models, and it's totally okay. I mean, I think that the next model, which is GPT-5 Codex on the high version, is maybe more powerful. It has like more raw power, but it's very slow. So it's not worth it for now, unless you're working with some especially complex logic, or maybe you have to go out for like an hour and you can leave AI working meanwhile. Then you can use this. But I think that, usually working with Claude 4.5 Sonnet, and if you're very stuck or you need to work on some very complex logic, switching to this other model is the good option. But again, if you're watching this video a month from now, it's probably different. So yeah, don't value this tip too highly, because it changes all the time. So I recommend using X or Twitter to be updated with what's going on, or following this channel, obviously, because I'll talk about what the best models are and keep you updated, of course. So yeah, basically this is the whole step-by-step that I would take if I was non-technical. So like, this is what you need to do if you want to basically launch a SaaS and you have no tech skills. There's a lot of things that you need to learn, such as version control and vibe coding, but I think that it's still very doable. You don't need to really learn coding. You need to understand computers a little bit, understand what you're doing, but I think that it's a totally doable thing. And if you have any problem, you can just ask me and I'll help you totally. And of course, if you want to work with me to create something like this, obviously we're totally open for that as well. So you can check the link in my description of if you want to know more about what I do, the projects that I've done, and so on. And if you want to work with me, you can go there as well. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope this was useful, and yeah, see you in the next video. Bye. Oh,